It's a marriage fact that we're all well aware of. We even joke about it. Couples seem to fight over the same issues time and time again. It's exhausting. It's frustrating. So what does it take to actually break the argument cycle? Studio 5 contributor Dr. Liz Hale is joining me. And as a marriage and family therapist, you say you made one grave mistake over the years in your early years of practice.
Well, I've made many mistakes, I'm sure. Isn't that why they call it a practice? But the one is I never gave credit where credit is due, and that is in childhood. I think I tried so hard to revere parents because I do. I think they have the hardest job in the whole world. That I was careful about that. But even the perception of childhood is really key. So sometimes the facts are irrelevant, but it's what someone's truth is. You know what I mean by that? There's a difference between facts and truth. I care about someone's perception, that's their truth, and that's what we roll with, because a lot of those old things contaminate the current relationship.
So as we bring this topic to the table, the argument cycle, how does childhood tie in to that trap?
Yeah, isn't that funny that it does? I think of one couple in particular who got tripped up on cookies. So think about your current argument that happens maybe again and again. And Claire and Jeremy, and Claire made these cookies. Some were for the family, some were for Jeremy to take to work, right? And Jeremy, the next day, he says, well, I don't know if there's going to be enough here. I better take most of the cookies. So when he took most of the cookies because he wanted to make sure everyone had one, Claire was furious. And she knew that her anger was far and above what the situation called for, but they got really stuck on that. And then they started to unwind a little bit, and it was such a relief to know, oh, this is kind of from some old stuff. It's not really about you and me. It's about some old childhood patterns.
Because you hear that, it's never about what it's really about.
It isn't it? No, it really isn't. But once you understand that, it can just take all the anger and disappointment and just go.
So how did they get unstuck then?
Yeah, it was so fun. So first off is it is kind of fun. It really is. You know DIY, right? This is a therapy DIY. You can do it right at home. That's what's so exciting about it. The first step is to think about the thing that hooks you the most. Peel back some of the layers of the truth. Like, what's going on? Where did I just get hooked right there? How did this happen? And for Jeremy and Claire, it was the cookies. The cookies were this hook. And she felt that he didn't hear her, and he felt that she was being a little silly about it. And then you take something else in this first step of peel and you think, okay, so let's talk about our first argument. You can't believe how powerful the first argument is.
Your first argument as a couple?
Yes. Whether it's before you got married or after you got married. In this case, it was before they married. They had gone to a party, Claire and Jeremy, and there was a woman there who paid a lot of attention to Jeremy. He seemed to really like that attention. And Claire was furious again on the way home. She goes, I just can't believe you acted like that. He goes, I think you're just being so silly. There was nothing to it. You know, I was just being friendly. So once again, she felt like something that was kind of hers was taken away from her, and she wasn't being listened to and heard.
Fast forward to the cookies, which were hers.
That's right.
It's like a little detective line.
And then it is like being a detective. And then he felt very much like he lacked attention as a child being in a foster care system, and he really kind of liked the attention. That's why he wanted to take the cookies to work, you know, the attention, and to be able to share with other people, to feel like he had that sense of belonging. So it was fascinating.
So step one, peel. Yes. Step two takes us to reveal.
To reveal, yes. And the reveal part is a story below the story. So this is where we start to get into childhood. And I love that arrow. That's so cool. So in other words, ask yourself the same question of, where else have I felt that way before? That I felt unheard, that I didn't feel deserving, or I felt like I didn't belong, or someone was inhibiting me from making a difference, having that sense of connection. And for Jeremy and Claire both, it went back to childhood. She had a history of just feeling unheard, that she was invisible. And she felt that way at the party with Jeremy. I felt like invisible all over again. And with Jeremy, it felt like I just have never felt this sense of belonging somewhere. And I wanted to. And it seemed like she was interrupting that for him, taking that opportunity away from him. So they were both so relieved, Brooke, to know that, oh my gosh, there's bigger issues at play here, and these we can deal with. And then once we heal that, then we can just make it about the situation. You know, the situation at hand, not about the old haunting stuff that we bring into marriage.
It puts something like a cookie, a silly argument about a cookie, into a much bigger perspective. So as you touch on these core issues that you say a lot of couples circle their arguments around, are there some common ones that we can expect or look for in our own relationship?
There are, and there are typically like 6 of them. I think we've made a list for our viewers today, and you can kind of think, oh, so where do we get hooked? And it's part of that, any of our childhood. So those last 3 on that right-hand column, the fear of commitment, I think of a woman in particular who had to be a mother at a very early age because her mother got sick and eventually passed away. So she was the mom in charge. So she grows up to be a woman saying, I don't think I want this. You know, she lived her life in jobs and relationships with one foot in, one foot out, because commitment meant pain to her. And then rage, I'll see oftentimes adults who were at children, again, just, you are here for my happiness, dear child, not to let me, not for you to tell me who you are, but I'm here to tell you as a parent who I need you to be for my sake. So you'll see a lot of anger in adult therapy sessions.
And once you start to identify those core issues in your own relationship, you say the final step is just to take responsibility. Only you have a unique way of looking at that.
Well, you know, it's so lovely once you understand this, you can take responsibility. So when feelings come up, if both couples are willing to take responsibility for their responses, then they can have this ability to create a really beautiful relationship and change things dramatically. You can get out of that negative cycle, that negative loop. You don't have to be a victim to it anymore.
I think this is fascinating. Probably
Yeah,
a part of
so
your practice
fun,
you really
actually.
enjoy now, helping
I
couples
do.
kind of work through that and uncover what's really at stake.
Oh, I do. I love it. I have such renewed respect for that, maybe over even just the last 5-6 years.
Awesome. Liz, thank you for
So,
sharing.
yeah, my honor.
We appreciate it.